Welcome to Surgeon Syndicate. If you're paying attention, you know that you only make money when you work. It might be great money, but it's dependent on you. The information on this podcast will help you solve that. We interview experts and provide analysis into financial freedom through commercial real estate. Why? To help physicians like you thrive. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the second half of our interview with Vish Muni. Today, we are going to begin by discussing how to get the education we need to act upon the opportunities we see. For me, this was a huge thing. I knew I wanted to start investing in commercial real estate, but I didn't know how to do it. And finding the education and the resources is key. So let's jump right back in. So where did you go when you started down that road? You were talking about the education. Where did you go for education?
So I started looking up on the internet and I found a company called Lifestyles Unlimited. And that name was very catchy. That went very well with my lifestyle and what I was looking to. Lifestyles Unlimited. That is exactly what I wanted. And I immediately looked them up on the internet and I found that they were coming to Austin. So I went there, met with them, and they had a promo like anybody for 1 hour promo, and then everybody starts selling programs. So I bought into their program, which had a single family program and a multifamily program. And I bought the single family program for probably something like $5,000, $4,000. And to be honest, I didn't learn much because whatever they were teaching, I already had 6 to 7 years experience doing the same thing. And that really wasn't exciting me. But I was able to network with people there. And I learned a lot from networking with people there. But
you listed me. What was that again?
That didn't stop me. And then I kept looking for different groups. And then I found out that they had an upgraded version which does commercial properties. And I was hesitant to pay that additional money of another $10,000 to join the program. So I took a step back and I found another networking group called Investor Underground. I mean, it sounded more like a drug dealers or something. And what was credible about it is they met at the Austin Realtors office, Austin Board of Realtors. So then I figured out it has to be a real business. It can't be a bad business. And they're meeting at Austin Board of Realtors. And I went there. It was actually run by quite a well-known people in the community. And I met a lot of people out there. And that is how one thing led to another. And I discovered a few more real estate groups. And those are the people out there that one of those guys, my name Tony, he spoke about everything about syndication and investing in multifamily. And that was an eye-opener for me. And I invested in his deal as a limited partner. And then I was also reading a lot of books. And I came across this book written by Donald Trump and another guy called Dave Lindahl. And I read a lot of books written by Donald Trump and his commercial real estate, and I learned a lot from it. And there's one book, it's called Multifamily Millions. And the Dave Lindahl, I looked him up on the internet, and I found he had a program called RE Mentor, Real Estate Mentoring. And that is how I got started. I joined this program, and then I knew I got to learn everything about syndication. And then fast forward now, involved in 7 different commercial deals, and 6 of them as a general partner and 1 of them as a limited partner. And the other 3 more limited partner deals have gone full cycle, so I'm no more in there.
You know, that's interesting. As a doctor, and you probably see this with your wife, I think I was out of medical school for less than a week the first time I got a call from a stockbroker who wanted to sign me up. And I don't think he realized that I was heading into being an intern making no money with huge debt. But you get used to a lot of people, coming to you looking for money types of things. Since I was very hesitant about programs. And I finally did a program, like you did, that was about investing in commercial real estate. And I learned a good amount from it. But I love that your story that, maybe you didn't learn a whole lot of information, but you started to meet people. And from those people, you got to another group where you met more people, and how that you listed networking as your superpower. And really you got to jump in somewhere. And it's almost like there's not a wrong place to jump in that, unless you spend too much money when you jump in, but there's enough reasonably priced stuff out there that you can jump in and start to learn something to get started.
Right. Yeah. No, I've always liked meeting people, and so far, whatever I've done in my life has been only through relationships. And relationships I love meeting new people, listening to everybody's story. And now after doing this for so many years, I figured out a 4-step formula how you can network like a professional anywhere in the world with anybody. And
this is good. Yeah, will you share your 4-step networking with us?
There's not against you or any doctors in specific, but I've seen, like if you go to a doctor, I want the doctor to be a lot more interactive, but there are some doctors who are very quiet. They're really good at what they do, but that is their nature. And using this formula, you could use it on kids, you can use it anywhere in the world. The 4 things are, it's F is for family. So everybody has a family in the world. Ask people about their family. And you're there to get to know them, so don't speak. Just ask them questions and keep quiet, unless they ask you. So I come to you and say, Mike, tell me about your family. Is it you, or you have siblings, your grandfather, grandmother, wife, kids? And you're excited to talk about your kids so that I get to know you. And the next is O. O is for occupation. Everybody has an occupation, right? So, and I can ask you, if you say I'm a doctor, then I can ask you, why did you become a doctor? What do you like so much about being a doctor? How long have you been a doctor? So occupation. And everybody in the world has something outside their occupation. Like it could be gardening, it could be cycling, it could be swimming, it could be shooting pool, or it could be doing anything. So I talk about recreation after that. So it's FOR. And the last one is D. D as in dreams. Everybody has a dream. Who doesn't have a dream, right? And you put them all together, it's called Ford. Ford, like an automobile Ford.
That's great.
All you need to remember is Ford, and you could just network with anybody in the world. No specific order, but make sure you touch upon these.
And that's so simple, because even if somebody's an introvert and they feel like they've got nothing to talk about, and you get somebody else talking. I saw something recently that said, you're making a good impression on somebody if you're talking only 20 to 25% of the time, and they're talking 75 to 80% of the time, you've made a good impression.
Right. Yeah. You don't need to talk. Even if you're an introvert, don't worry. Just make sure you ask these questions in no specific order, but just ask them. If you're just having a drink, you just have a sip and ask them, so tell me about what you do or recreation.
So it's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Yes.
All right. The Ford model from Vish Muni. That's awesome.
Ford model. Yeah, that is easy. So using that, it works anywhere. It works in any networking events. And the next time you meet that person, you know something about him. Either you remember something about the family, something about his occupation, something about recreation or his dreams. So it's easy to take it from there.
Now, then you talked a little bit about the final group you joined and the mentoring that went on with that. It's interesting. Recently, I forget where I heard it, but it wasn't my idea. I'd always thought of a mentor as something that was somebody you met, and that mentoring was always free. And they talked about the difference that there are paid mentoring programs, and it may be called a mastermind, it may be called lots of different things, but it is paid mentoring. And he said the advantage with paid mentoring versus free mentoring is that free mentoring, it's harder. There's some give and take, and that's important too. But if you have a paid mentor, they're available to you, and you can always talk about your stuff because that's what you're paying them to do. And so there's advantages there. Versus we talked in another show with somebody, and he was talking about, mentoring with somebody who's free, about finding out what their needs are and then trying to serve them first. So I think that's a big one. That's what I struggle with. Until I found the people who could show me the way, it was much more difficult.
what I figured out is I can talk about that all day because I spent 10 years thinking that what I was doing is the best thing. I don't need a mentor. That was the attitude I had. And now, after I had to change my mindset, I had to come out of that mindset and I say, now I tell people, you need a mentor for everything, whatever you do. So it's like if you want to be a bodybuilder, where do you go? You want to look strong and you want to be really super fit. Where do you go? You don't go to a bar to get fit. You go to a gym. And when you go to a gym, you could do whatever you want all by yourself and take 10 years to get fit and get super strong. But you might hurt yourself in the process. Or you might be doing everything wrong only to realize after 5 years, oh, you know what, there was a better way to do that. And how do you do that? You need to know someone, you need to talk to people who've been there, who've done that. And they don't come for free. So which means you need an exclusive mentor out there, mentor or a coach. And when you pay them, give 100% of their time to you. But if you don't have a mentor, exclusive mentor, they're not obligated to give you time. Even if they feel they're of good nature and want to give you, but they might just help you one time, 2 times, but they're not obligated to give you. But in your own interest, I would say that you can cover a lot more distance, you can do a lot more, and you're going to be a better person mentally, physically, emotionally, in every way if you have a mentor. And it's worth paying that price up front.
I think it was Tony Robbins who said, turning decades into days.
Right, yeah. So I think it is definitely worth it because you see, now I've come to, it's not just other people's money all the time, it's other people's time, other people's experience, and other people's platform also.
So so you're making this transition from small residential stuff and now you're doing more commercial. So tell me more about what you're doing right now.
So right now I'm working on one apartment complex, which is a 22-unit deal as we speak, which I will be closing in next week. And this is a heavy value add deal. And then we belong to a group called IBM Invest Beyond Multifamily, where I learned the terminology that you got to always look for unicorn deals. And this is a unicorn deal, which is a lot of things in the deal because we are getting it at a good price. And once we close it, we're going to turn around and sell 10 units and hold on to the 12 units.
Oh, nice.
And that is one of the many deals I'm working on. And that is the one which is going to be closing. But apart from that, I've been presenting 2 or 3 LOIs a week. And because I'm looking for that unicorn deals, that is why I need to present more LOIs.
So that's a creative way that you've both decreased the risk, but also increased your potential returns.
Yes, yeah. So that is why I've come to realize there are 1,001 ways to do any deal. And I didn't know about that. And for 10 years, I thought there's only one way to do a deal. But now there is absolutely so many ways to do a deal.
That's awesome. That is such a crazy thing as you get going and you start to see somebody hear things and you can be in it for a while and somebody will be like, oh yeah, we did this thing. And you're like, what? I didn't know you could do that.
Right. Well, I know
it just opens up a whole new.
Well, it is. In some cases, I've told a few lenders, you know what? There's a better way for you to give me money. It will tell me how, and I tell them, well, this is how you can give me more money. And so, wow, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like some of the CPAs, you think that they would know about real estate professionals. They wouldn't know. Good at something else, but nobody has asked them this question. So
that's a great thing is, when you're talking about networking is you get out and you talk to people and you never know what you're going to learn. I was at a conference that was about multifamily investing. And the biggest thing I learned is I ran into a guy who had previously had a podcast and he gave me a bunch of podcast advice. I didn't go there to learn about podcasting, but I met a bunch of people and one of them gave me something I never expected.
Right. Yeah. I think all you need is one good connection, one good contact, and one great idea. That's it. So every place you go.
All right. Well, Vish, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, they can look me up on LinkedIn is the best way because that information is always current. And which other ways, it's my phone number will be 254-444-7300.
All right. We'll include that in the show notes. So before we go, what would be your best advice for somebody, one, to get started in real estate and they're feeling a little scared, a little nervous to get the ball rolling?
The simple thing is the whole idea works is like you traveling from a place A to B. Why traveling? Because you need to buy a plane ticket if you want to get on that plane. You can't be thinking about traveling and not getting on the plane. So the first step is they need to take action. Once they take action, they need to buy the ticket, get on that plane, which means they need to associate themselves with a group which is already doing what they're looking to do. They need to join a mentoring program. Even if they're not willing to join a mentoring program, they need to at least find a group of people with whom they can hang around, learn from them.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. Really appreciate you being on the show. And thank you to everybody out there for joining us.
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me on Surgeon Syndicate.
This has been an episode of Surgeon Syndicate. If you got value from this episode, you know other surgeons are hungry to become job optional, and you can help them by sharing this content today. Schedule a call and we can make a plan. Looking forward to having you with me on the next episode.